some of my critics will say that I focus too much on the left. And what I always say is, well, I come from the left and I'm trying to clean up my house. Everyone else is attacking the right. Right.
Amen.
Right.
Take the beam out of your own eye. I tried for a long time to tell progressives why they were wrong. It doesn't work.
Right.
You know, MSNBC built a whole network to tell conservatives how wrong they are. It doesn't work.
I'm pretty sure that has not converted anyone. I would argue it's probably converted people to be stronger conservatives in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
Because they turn it on and they go, wait a minute, this isn't true.
Right.
Or this, whatever. But what else can we hit the right on? Like, I don't want, not gotcha in a gotcha sense, but what else has the right sort of missed for you?
A lot. I've made a promise that I won't judge Donald Trump on what he did during the election.
Yeah.
I'll judge him now on his actions as president. But there's a lot I disagree with him on that he said during the election. A lot.
Yeah.
If he passes a $1.1 billion stimulus package, I might lose my mind.
Right. This is not a conservative idea to do this. Right.
No.
Right.
In fact, I remember the Tea Party standing up and saying I remember the number, $787 billion stimulus package. Well, I got news for you. Donald Trump's will be bigger.
Yeah.
And will you accept it? Will you accept government taking money and then saying, I know what's best to do with it? No. There's that. To watch people cheer the executive orders that keep coming out, that he's sitting there signing decrees like Caesar. I had a problem with George W. Bush doing it. I had a problem with Barack Obama. I have a problem with this guy. And has anybody noticed? They're getting worse.
Yeah.
They're grabbing more power. We have to restore the constitutional balance of power.
Yeah. So there's video evidence of me saying the exact same thing, that I was against it when George W. did it. I was against it when Obama did it. I'm against it now. And this is the problem, that if we remove one of the three branches of government, if we just take the legislative branch out, and by the way, it's the fault of the Senate too, because they refuse to meet and do anything and all that stuff. But that then we've ceded enough power to the president where people don't even understand civics anymore.
Right.
So he's just signing these things and everyone goes, oh, I guess that's how a law's made.
So the progressives started this by taking away the true nature of the Senate. Remember, the Senate was elected originally. The senators were picked by the states and the state legislatures.
Yeah.
Okay? So they were picked by the people who, in their own state, were greedy for their own state.
Right.
So they would guard the state.
You would argue that's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, great.
It's a great thing. Okay? Yeah. So they were to guard the state. Well, the progressives took that away. So now we have 100 men who, well, I want to make sure that Schumer stays in, or I want to make sure Ted Cruz stays in. Well, you shouldn't be connected unless you're in the state of Texas or in the state of New York. So they changed that basic fundamental principle. And then, most people don't know this. Do you know where the Supreme Court used to meet before FDR made this big edifice of the Supreme Court with the big columns and Moses up at the top? Do you know where they used to meet?
I didn't even know it met anywhere else, but I guess I would maybe somewhere in Boston or.
That was built in the 1940s by Roosevelt. The Supreme Court played such a small role that when they built the Capitol, they looked at each other and went, crap, we forgot about the third branch. Where did they? They met until the 1940s in the basement of the Capitol. Okay? They were nothing. They were just there to go, yep, constitutional, not constitutional. But again, the progressives made them into this, to now, they're the final word. Well, they can't be dictators. The president can't be a dictator, and neither can Congress.
Which is a beautiful system.
It's a beautiful system. Nobody else has it.
Yeah. But we're losing it.
I know we are.
We are absolutely losing it. So, okay, so let's just talk about one of the executive orders, the one that everyone's going crazy about, the so-called Muslim ban. Now, I did a piece at the top of the show today talking about that this is not a Muslim ban, because if you took the top 5 most populous Muslim countries,
they're not there.
Which is, it's almost 800 million people, they're not on there, including Indonesia and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Now, you could argue that Certainly Saudi Arabia should be on the list, and Pakistan probably too.
Yeah,
But
for good reason.
yeah, because there's actually evidence that
Wahhabism.
people have come out of right. So okay, but putting that aside, the rhetoric around it, the immediate need for the hashtag Muslim ban.
Oh my gosh.
Chuck Schumer crying, talking about a Muslim ban. Now we've already agreed we don't like everything being done via executive action. But what do you think about just the inability for us to tell the truth in what's happening? That, okay, this may be misguided, but it's not a Muslim ban. Yeah.
This gives me hope that America has a chance. Sitting down with a guy who used to say he was a progressive and have you say that is so powerful, so powerful. The problem is twofold. First, thank you for being honest. Thank you for having intellectual courage to say that.
It's funny, people always say it seems so rare or something, and it's like, I didn't pick a team. I didn't pick, you know what I mean? Like I was saying what I believe before, and I'm saying what I believe now. I'm sure I'll be wrong about things, but
Right.
but I'm a human.
But it will come with great cost. It always does. I'll tell you after the show, but read a book called The Pendulum. You'll understand what time period we're in. It repeats itself every 80 years, all the way back to the beginning of time. And it's a fascinating study on who we are and where we are, and why voices like yours are rare, and what usually happens to people like you.
You telling me to retire early?
No, I'm telling you to stand strong, but it'll have a happy ending the next generation.
Oh,
you may
great.
not see the happy ending. But
I just got a house. I built a studio.
I know.
Beck, what are you
it's
doing?
nice too.
What are you doing to me?
So where were we? What were we talking about again?
Where did we go there?
Where did we go?
Well,
We went around.
the government, small government. Oh man.
The Muslim ban.
Oh, the Muslim.
Oh yeah, don't say it. So
That's
the
a
two
rare
things-
moment when
Thank
two
you. Yeah, I
people
know.
lose it at once.
I know.
You scared the hell out of me there.
So, two things happened. First of all, when I heard the reporting on it, I was like, "This is horrible. This is so horrible."
Yeah.
Hey, he meant the Muslim ban? I thought we weren't supposed to take him literally.
Yeah.
He meant the Muslim ban. Then I go and I read the Muslim ban. It's a pause.
Yeah.
Okay? So, where did the Muslim ban come from? Well, partially him. Because as he's signing it, he's talking about banning Muslims. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? I think he's either just so sloppy with his language, which is really easy to do, or he's sending a message to those people that did vote for him who's like, yeah, I want you to ban all those Muslims. I don't know. I don't know how big of a number that is. So he started calling it a ban. The press started calling it a ban. So there's two sides. One, he made the mistake of saying that. If you want to be president of the United States, you have to be careful with your language. I was sitting in with George W. Bush because I really disagreed with the way the war was being fought. And he called me into the Oval Office and read me the Riot Act. And he sat down. We sat in those two chairs by the fireplace.
Yeah.
And he sat down and he said, you know, a lot of people think they know what it's like to be the president of the United States, but they have no fucking idea what it's like to be the president. I was like, this is going to be the longest hour of my
Wow.
life.
Yeah.
Okay? Never heard him swear, never saw him angry.
Yeah.
He was pissed. He said, let me tell you something. And he started in on 5 o'clock in the morning. He took phone calls. He told me the names of the people that had died, where they died, what they were fighting for, what their parents said when he called them at 7 that morning. And then he told me about how the war was going. And I said, and he was passionate. He wasn't the, shoo.
Yeah.
He wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
And I said, no offense, Mr. President, but this is the guy that should be talking to the American people. Where is all this? He said, when you're president, just shifting your eyes is being watched by the Chinese, by your enemies, by your friends. When you say something, and if you just shift your eyes, there is somebody in the world going, what does that mean?
Yeah.
He said, you have to watch every single word you say. Donald Trump needs to learn that lesson. The same thing needs to be understood by the media. They're not intellectually honest.
No.
They're not intellectually curious. Very few of them. They also are sending a message to the entire world. America hates Muslims.
Yeah.
America has gone insane. America is not trustworthy. They're both at fault. They're both at fault.
So do we now have the perfect storm? We have a guy that they've painted as Hitler versus a media that we know will not act honestly. There are some actors within that will act honestly, but we have a perfect storm where no matter what he does, they're gonna go nuts, and no matter what they do, he's gonna hate them. So like we've created now a situation where it gets to what I first wanted to start with. Have you ever seen a period of time in your life where everyone seems like they're going nuts at the same time? Because that's what it seems like to me. Everyone that I'm talking to, and everyone's saying it. People are starting to say it to each other. You feel like everyone's going crazy? Oh yeah, everyone's going crazy. I mean, there really seems to be like, I think this is what you're talking about the 80-year thing, that there's like this sort of, we're pulling the string on the fabric of what keeps us
So let me give
together.
you one thing that might not make you feel good and then something that will make you feel good.
Okay.
One, you say about perfect storm. A reoccurring phrase on my show at Fox on the chalkboard was perfect storm. And it was a president that would happily decree things through executive order, a press that was completely either in the pocket or untrustworthy, and a people that were angry, and one more element, economic collapse. If you put real economic depression-like hardships there,
Yeah.
look out. It's gonna fall apart, and it's gonna get nasty ugly. Now let me give you the part that'll make you feel good. I don't know why, but I feel a tremendous pull or calling to stand for people who are being persecuted one way or another. And I don't know how that plays out, but it's why I stood with Bill Maher 2 weeks after 9/11. He doesn't even know this. Here I'm talk radio right after 9/11. It's not popular to stand with a guy who says, you know what, they're braver than our soldiers.
Yeah.
Not popular.
And he basically got fired for it.
Right. And I stood with him saying, ABC, what part of the name politically incorrect don't you understand? He has a right to say this. So I try to stand with the people who are standing on principle, and even if I disagree with them. But this has manifested itself with me about 5 years ago. I took my children to Auschwitz, and I wanted my family to decide who we would be before any trouble would come. And I said, someday, I hope not, but history seems to repeat itself, and I feel like we're headed towards this where it's only heroes or villains, and depending on whose side wins, they're going to be villains. And they could be the Japanese, they could be the Germans, they could be the Jews, they could be us. Don't know. But who are we going to be at that time? So we went through Auschwitz, which was an amazing experience. And then I found a woman who was one of the righteous among the nations. She was one who saved about 100 Jews. She was 16 at the time when she did it. And her story is phenomenal. But the last thing I asked her was, my kids and everybody had left, and I said to her, I'm on television and radio, and I believe these times are coming again. I believe everybody has the seed of righteousness in us, but it has to be watered. So I asked her, how can I water that tree of righteousness? How can I water it in people to make it grow? She said something that I thought was profound then, but as we are entering these times, how you just described it, makes more sense than ever. She said, Glenn, you have to remember, you're looking at it from your time, not our time, not the time when I was doing it. She said, the righteous didn't suddenly become righteous. They weren't superheroes. They just refused to go over the cliff with everyone else. So we're in that time where everybody's like, oh my gosh, the world is going insane. Yes, they're going over the cliff of insanity. It's critical that you say, stop, I'm not going there. I won't go with you. No matter how much you push, how much you shove, no matter how much anger you want to stir up in me, I won't go over the cliff with you. You're going to end up being one of the righteous, remembered as one of the righteous, because you just stood in place and everybody else went nuts.